Hallo. We're now on to our final real grammatical concept for German 112 and also finally learning our fourth and final case in German. So far you've learned your nominative case from the very beginning, nominative, your subject case. Then you learned your accusative, your direct object, your dative, your indirect object. And lastly, we're now going to learn the genitive, which is a possessive case. It's also used for indicating relationships. And I know I've mentioned this in class before, but in German, in spoken German, people are actually slowly using less and less of the genitive. So there's even a book in German, Der Dativ ist dem Genitiv sein Tod. The dative is the death of the genitive, and really people are using the dative with prepositions far more frequently than the genitive these days. So the genitive tends to sometimes sound a little bit old-fashioned to German speakers. However, you still do have to learn it, and it is actually a case you've been already using whenever you added an S to a name in order to make it possessive. So basically, it's used to express like possession or belonging together. So you've seen the S genitive, which is only works, of course, with proper names, and where in English we would put an apostrophe S, in German we just tack an S on. So Claudia's Schreibtisch, Claudia's desk. For nouns that aren't proper names, we do have to use the actual genitive case. And in this form, the genitive actually follows the noun it modifies. So that's a little bit different. So the genitive follows the noun that's being modified by the genitive. So das Büro des Professors. So it's the professor's office. Das Zimmer meiner Schwester, my sister's room. Der Teddybär dieses Kindes, this child's teddy bear. Die Wohnung unserer Eltern, our parents' apartment. And this form genitive is used for persons, animals, and things, and in English we sometimes would express it with of. So the roof of this house, das Dach dieses Hauses, the walls of our apartment, die Wände unserer Wohnung. And just like all of your other cases, you have to learn what your der word is. So what does der, das, die become? And you have to learn what your ein word is, or your possessive endings are. So masculine, we started off in the nominative with der. We then learned that masculine changes in the accusative into den. And in our dative, it changed into dem. And now, yet again, it's changing, and you're adding an S to the noun itself. So it's des Vaters. So der Vater nominative becomes des Vaters when it's in the genitive. Meines Vaters, of my fathers. Neuter, so das Kind in nominative becomes des Kindes. So again, just like in your dative, where masculine and neuter were identical, the same thing holds true in genitive. So des Kindes, meines Kindes. And feminine is going to stay the same as what it was in the dative. So der Mutter, meiner Mutter. Neuter and masculine, you add an S or ES to any noun. In the feminine, you do not have to add any additional letters to the noun itself. And the same thing holds true in the plural. So der Freunde, meiner Freunde. Most one-syllable masculine neuter nouns are going to add that ES, and masculine neuter nouns with one syllable add an S. So basically, Kind, one syllable, so ES. Vater, two syllables, it adds just an S. And feminine nouns and plurals do not add anything additional in the genitive. There's also, just like we learned for each of our cases, there's a new question word. So in our nominative, we had was and we had wer. Once we got to the accusative, our question was wen. In the dative, wem. And now we have wessen, whose. So wessen Jacke ist das? Whose jacket is that? And again, it is coming from the masculine article des, but since the noun also adds an S, that's one way to remember why there's two S's and an EN tacked on there. We're going to put these into practice right away. So im Buch, Seite 263, wir haben hier verschiedene Objekte und wir fragen, wem sie gehören. So we have a bunch of different objects and we're just going to ask whom they belong to. So wessen Handschuhe sind das? Das sind die Handschuhe meiner Schwester. So these are my sister's gloves. And at the bottom, we do have our little word box. Bücher, plural, books. Fahrrad, Neuter, bicycle. Adresse, feminine, address. Wagen, maskulin, car. Schal, maskulin, scarf. Und Brille, feminine, glasses. So Nummer 1, unsere Frage wäre, wessen Adresse ist das? Wessen Adresse ist das? It's singular, so it's ist das instead of sind das. Das ist die Adresse meiner Tante in Österreich. That's my aunt's address in Österreich, in Austria. Nummer 2, wessen Bücher sind das? Das sind Manfreds Bücher. When it's just a name, you just tack on an S. Wessen Fahrrad ist das? Das ist das Fahrrad meines Bruders. That's my brother's bicycle. Wessen Brillen sind das? Wessen Brille ist das? Das ist die Brille unseres Professors, if we want to have a masculine professor. And since they did have professor, that would be masculine. If you wanted to say it's your female professor's glasses, you would say unserer Professorin. So das ist die Brille unserer Professorin. Und wessen Schal ist das? Das ist Brigitte's Schal. Again, it's just one person, so we just tack on an S. Und wessen Wagen ist das? Das ist der Wagen meiner Eltern. It's my parents' car. Again, dative was maybe the bigger jump. Once you've gotten used to using the dative, the genitive is not that hard. And again, it is more commonly used in written German, probably in part because you have to add additional endings on, so it kind of makes words longer, which is probably one of the reasons why Germans tend to default towards feeling as though it sounds old-fashioned. Basically, it sounds old-fashioned because it makes things a little bit longer. But it is already the case you've been using anytime you tacked an S onto a proper name.